What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Artem Lobov suing Conor McGregor over Proper 12 sale. It seems like the end of an era is upon us. Conor McGregor's longtime friend and training partner, Artem Lobov, is now suing the former UFC champion after McGregor sold a majority stake in Proper 12 for $600 million last year. According to the lawsuit, Lobov was the co-creator of Proper 12 Irish whiskey and was largely responsible for the idea in the early stages. As a result, he believes he's entitled to some of the company. According to the lawsuit, when the Irish superstar was preparing to enter into a deal with strongman Hafthor Bjornsson to create a vodka, it was Lobov who put McGregor onto Irish whiskey. As if that wasn't enough, Lobov, who has a master's in finance and capital markets, spent a considerable amount of time getting in touch with distilleries and putting together deals for McGregor early on. As a result, he's seeking 5% in Proper 12. He spoke about the situation while reflecting on the importance he played on Proper 12 early on. Conor offered me $1 million, but I turned it down. I didn't accept it. You know, throughout my career, whenever I have helped Conor with camps, he offered to pay me for them camps, but I never accepted money from him. So far, no response yet from McGregor, who has been on a Twitter tirade as of late. While he battles Lobov in court, he will also be gearing up for a highly anticipated return to the octagon. Before he does that, however, he'll have to undergo a mandatory 6-month testing period under USADA. Stay tuned for updates as they become available. UFC books 3 exciting fights for next year. With the new year rapidly approaching, it's no surprise that the UFC is wasting no time in putting together some high-profile contender bouts for the new year. We kick things off in the welterweight division, where Gilbert Burns will square off with Neil Magny in a highly anticipated showdown in Brazil. The fight had been a long time coming, with Burns anxious to finalize a deal to fight on the card. Although it looked like Jorge Masvidal would be his opponent, the BMF recently fired back and challenged Burns to a fight in March on the UFC's rumored UK card. Although many hoped he would get a fight with a top contender, it seems Burns will have to get through Magny if he hopes to get back to a title shot. Next up, we have a light heavyweight showdown between Anthony Lionheart Smith and Jamal Hill, which will take place on March 11th. So far, there's been no word yet as to what event will play host to the bout. However, it's been speculated that the fight could be on the UFC's rumored UK card the same month. Smith will be looking to bounce back with a win after losing to Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 277 this summer. The fight saw him suffer a broken ankle in the second round, prompting the referee to stop the fight. On the other hand, Jamal Hill is fresh off a 4th-round TKO win over Thiago Santos this summer, which extended his win streak to 3. Last but certainly not least, we have a 135-pound clash between 2 streaking contenders. Umar Nurmagomedov will fight Raoni Barcelos on January 14th in a highly anticipated showdown that will see the cousin of UFC Hall of Famer Khabib Nurmagomedov look to continue his unbeaten streak. Standing in front of him, however, will be Barcelos, an 8-fight UFC veteran eager to build on his October win over Trevin Jones. Give us your predictions for these 3 fights in the comments section below. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all the latest news. Paulo Costa weighs in on Khamzat Chimaev calling out Alex Pereira. When Alex Pereira defeated Israel Adesanya to capture the UFC middleweight title at UFC 281 earlier this month, streaking contender Khamzat Chimaev was quick to call him out. It wasn't entirely out of character for Chimaev to call out a contender. Over the course of the last few years, the former Swedish national wrestling champion has continued to call out anyone and everyone. The way former title challenger Paulo Costa sees things, Chimaev was smart to call out the newly crowned champion. He spoke during a recent episode of Submission Radio saying,
I think the odds is against Alex if the fight happened, but I don't think they will be done. I don't think the fight will happen. I don't like to fight him. I asked him to fight him couple weeks ago. He said, no, I will still in 170. I will not go to 185, but he saw a huge opportunity to get the belt easily.
Costa's comments echoed those made by UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier recently, where the former 2-division champ explained that because of the style each man brings with them into the cage, the fight could see Chimaev as the favorite. Given the fact that Pereira recently found himself in deep waters with Israel Adesanya on the ground, DC and many others believe Chimaev could dominate the fight on the ground. So far, there's been no official word yet on whether or not Chimaev's next fight will be at 170 or 185 pounds. UFC President Dana White recently revealed that the promotion is looking to book a fight between Chimaev and Colby Covington. So far, the fight has not been made official, leading many to speculate as to who Chimaev could wind up fighting next. Jiri Prochazka relinquishes belt after withdrawing from UFC 282 fight with Glover Teixeira. Wednesday afternoon, news surfaced that UFC light heavyweight champion Jiri Prochazka was out of his UFC 282 showdown with Glover Teixeira. To make things even more strange, Prochazka relinquished the belt at the same time, leading many to wonder just how long he would be out. As it turned out, the champion suffered a horrific shoulder injury during wrestling practice that'll sideline him for around a year total. According to UFC President Dana White, the injury is the worst UFC doctors have ever seen. Although there's yet to be any official word yet on what happened to the champion's shoulder, Prochazka was quick to issue a statement on the situation, writing, "I'm very disappointed to announce that I will not be defending my belt at UFC 282. I was injured in training in Las Vegas while finishing my preparation for my title defense in the UFC's light heavyweight division. I injured my shoulder and surgery is required, which will put me out of action for at least 6 months. Knowing this information, I have decided, after consulting with UFC management, that due to this time constraint, I will not hold up the light heavyweight division and will vacate the title." In the wake of his withdrawal, it was then revealed that his opponent, Glover Teixeira, was also out of the fight. Rather than fight someone else, Teixeira opted to withdraw from the fight himself. As a result, the UFC has now promoted the co-main event fight between Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev to the main event fight, and made the bout for the vacant light heavyweight title. So far, no word yet as to what's next for Teixeira. However, many have speculated that he's stepping aside so that his protege, Alex Pereira, can make an eventual jump to light heavyweight. And now for our breaking news story of the day.
When John didn't train, you know, that's how you see the difference, because look at the second fight. They have a second fight, and John, well,
did he take him down?
But you have to also say, the second fight, how was that, before or after Gustafsson fought Rumble?
Oh, that's a good question.
Rest in peace, Rumble. Rumble passed away this week.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had some form of, I think it was like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's public. We should find out if that's public knowledge.
I think it was. I think I read that. I couldn't pronounce the words, and that sounds like it was.
Yeah, I shouldn't say it if it wasn't public knowledge. So if it's not public knowledge, we should edit it out. You know,
I'm almost positive I just read that in an article the other day. But yeah, that was great. I was on the
38
UFC,
years old, man.
Yeah, I did the UFC quintet with him. Who's me, Clay Guida, him, Gilbert Burns, Anthony Smith. But yeah, that was I think my only really interaction with him. Good dude.
Yeah, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a rare immune disorder called HLH. Yeah, horrible.
38.
Such a nice guy.
Brendan Schaub weighs in on Joe Rogan's assessment of extreme weight cutting. Recently, UFC commentator Joe Rogan criticized the process of extreme weight cutting, with fighters like middleweight champion Alex Pereira packing on dozens of pounds between weigh-in and fight night. Massive weight cuts have continued to be criticized in the media. The way Rogan saw things, cutting dozens of pounds to make weight is sanctioned cheating. Those comments didn't sit too well with former fighter Brendan Schaub, who weighed in on the situation, saying,
I mean, it can be an advantage, right? Especially if you're good at it. But with Pierre, you know, I wouldn't call it cheating. You know, I wouldn't call it cheating.
No, because they made weight.
Yeah, they literally weigh the same on the scale, and then he balloons back up. If anything, that's what makes Pierre kind of special, is he can cut that weight, and he still had cardio for 5 rounds.
Schaub's comments poured fuel on a debate that has been raging on regarding weight cutting for decades. While some believe that if a fighter can make weight, they should be allowed to fight at whatever weight they want. Others believe that preventing extreme weight cuts is looking out for fighter safety. When a fighter dehydrates themselves to dangerous levels to make weight, it does damage to their body that will impact their career longevity and long-term health. Although a lot of people want to prevent fighters from cutting dangerous amounts of weight, the idea of how weight cutting can be regulated has divided the MMA community. The only possible solution that has been presented is that a regulatory body needs to weigh fighters during camp to see what they weigh on average while training. When fighters are only allowed to cut a certain percentage of their weight, ensuring that nobody is cutting to dangerously low levels. What do you think? Are you on Team Schaub or Team Rogan when it comes to this debate? Give us your thoughts below. Thank you so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.